the question sounds simple until they try to actually answer it and they ask their marketing team, do we know this?
Hello, listeners and viewers on all platforms. Welcome to another episode of Commerce Untold. Today we have Danick O'Reilly, founder and principal of Relic Strategy. Hey, Danick, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Ethan. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. I mean, it's we've been planning this for a while. Super excited, to talk about your expertise and your contribution to the industry, specifically around the retail space and omnichannel brand, right? But Danick, before we kick it off, maybe just give us a quick intro of what do you do in Relic Strategy? I mean, who is your ideal customer and what type of services do you provide?
Sure. Recently kicked off consultancy here at Relic Strategy, trying to apply my 20 years of customer data experience. And over that time frame, I generally spent my time converting customer insights into incremental revenue. At Relic, we are focused on what I'm calling trying to help retailers build durable growth. And that's growth that kind of compounds over time because you've built a strong foundation based on kind of three areas of focus, which I think are all connected, and it's core to any business. Those areas are identification, activation, and attribution. I could talk more about that later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like so fundamental, right? So, and each one of them is like as difficult as it gets, right? I mean, it's totally complicated in our era where customers' journeys are so complex and
yes,
right. I mean, it's like all over the place. Nevertheless, if you have also an omni-channel kind of experience, so yeah, the attribution part is obviously one of the challenges that anyone in the industry is obviously facing, right? And you mentioned data like definitely as a cornerstone and as a source, but I think we're in an era where there is like too much data, right? I mean, each platform provides its own siloed kind of insights and analytics, and obviously when retailers with such a complex workflows, architectures, and system, how do you usually approach analyzing, first phase one, just what's really happening and how your process works, trying to get some more clarity and probably provide some recommendations throughout this process?
Absolutely. And you're right. Journeys are the most complex they've ever been.
Yeah.
It's always been a challenge to attribute what part of your marketing is working, dating back to the famous quote of, 50% of your marketing is working. You just don't know which 50% is driving it. And that got much harder with the internet and digital, because now we have, multiple devices, multiple points of PII or first party data from emails, phone numbers, cookies, and so on. And after that, you can disconnect from the internet and go in person. So we still have our physical bodies as well. And we like to shop. Shopping is still dominant in person.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose that continuity. You lose that identity. And if you are not strong in identifying who your customers are based on the information, data you know about them, it's going to be difficult to reach them and engage them. And then it's going to be really difficult to understand who drove that conversion, no matter what channel you're in. So kind of those three phases I mentioned are fundamental to what you're trying to build, and if you're looking to build something that continues to grow and scales and you can optimize over time. And I'm separating it from, let's say, just generating campaigns or testing new advertising channels, things of that nature. And they all kind of point back to the identification side of things. For example, if my name's pretty unique, but if you have multiple Daniques in a platform, you might, well, you may not want multiple Daniques, but which one is performing the behavior online? Which one's going into store? How do you know it's all the same person? And a more common name it would be more difficult. You may have multiple identities in that platform, which makes it very hard to attribute performance, personalized campaigns, and figure out which one is driving actual business income you want, which is typically profitability.
Yes.
So when there are different ways of approaching it. Typically, I'd start with an audit, but you're really trying to answer a few basic questions. Which one of your customers is driving the most profitability or margin, and where are they coming from? So you know where to get more of them.
Yes.
And if you have difficulty answering that question, it's a sign you might have a data issue.
Yes. And what from your experience, I mean, customers know to answer this question, or they're confused?
The question sounds simple until they try to actually answer it and they ask their marketing team. Do we know this?
Check it and get back to you, right? Yeah.
Right. And then they'll come back and say, all right, we may need some help. And it depends on your maturity levels, company size, and platforms. I've been fortunate enough to work with many platforms over my career. And I got started in email marketing, building targeted campaigns. So that's where I got started. So I was used to seeing moving data, handling data. And this is back in the days using Microsoft Access, managing data, coding campaigns by hand, obviously no AI, no journeys at that point, no journey builders at that point, and trying to match data up to what they purchase. So trying to personalize campaigns. But the platforms have come a long way. So depending on your maturity, there are different paths you can take to try and resolve the issue. But it comes down to reducing the quantity of anonymous behavior occurring at your properties in person and online. The more you do that, the more dependable your customer data and customer identities can be or will be.
Makes sense. So, Nick, before we dive in further, what are the major challenges that you hear retailers are facing, these days?
You kind of alluded to it earlier, but they have more data than they know what to do with. It's whether that data can help them answer pressing questions like the one I posed earlier, and messy data or less accurate data sometimes will lead to sometimes lower engagement rates across your marketing channels, or not being able to answer which campaign drove this customer into the store. Basically, attribution, which campaign should get this credit, which tells you where should you invest your money to get more of those customers. So those are some of the challenges retailers are facing. And obviously, as we become more privacy centric, people browse more anonymously, hiding IPs. Nothing against privacy. It just makes it more difficult for you to, on the retailer side, to giving the customers what they want.
Yes.
Because you need to capture those signals.
Yeah, and this is true for offline journeys and also online journeys. And nevertheless, when they are combined journeys, which we understand that most of journeys today are kind of a mixed online and offline, right?
Yes, and it could go back and forth.
Yeah.
And it goes between platforms, online, offline. It may start online, finish offline, or vice versa. And there are attribution. So you find some attribution techniques within Google Analytics, but typically most folks don't have all of their data in Google Analytics. So where in the industry has been heading is to put all your data into one platform, right? First, it started off, with like leveraging DMPs. Then you would have your internal marketing database with your marketing service provider, but then that was slow. Then came the customer data platform, the CDP. I've worked with a few, and I saw that industry mature. But they're not all created equal. So there are many claims out there, and some handle the duplication well or identity resolution to create what we call that ultimate golden record, kind of one identity, all the behaviors and events, and then others struggle to do that.
Yes,
but they might be good in activating on that data. So depending on your situation, you may need a two partner approach, or you can live with one customer data platform, and it depends if you're omni-channel or purely online.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a very important issue, and I think there is probably like overwhelming amount of tools and platform that is being used like all over the place, but both for the the backend side of things, with logistics and inventory planning, and obviously customer data on the sales and marketing side, and customer support and tickets. And I think today we have more tools probably to analyze the data, right, through AI and agents. I mean, some of this data is just huge in terms of quantity, and those agents, I mean, the risk is that they will not really go through the entire database, right? Because they are also overwhelmed with the amount of data out there. But I'm sure this is something that helps you, in the way you work, and probably implementing these tools throughout your process, correct?
They do, and there is more tools than ever. I'm sure you've seen that poster that used to show the marketing tech stack, and this is probably 10 years old now. Used to be on the wall of executives. I can imagine what that looks like now. But at the end of the day, you need to prioritize what's most important to you and find a platform that matches that. Because any implementation, there will be pros and cons to the implementation.
Yes. I know. I mean, we have like a SaaS fatigue, right? And I have a new term. It's SaaSmageddon, right? So we are all like in a new era, right, of trying to figure out things and stop clicking buttons and just looking for solutions, right? Like show me the bottleneck, right? That's people are interested, definitely. So a lot of things has changed, right? And you mentioned previously, Denik, about incremental growth. I know you also use like durable growth, right, as a term that you use quite often. Can you define what do you mean exactly by these two terms?
Sure. The way I view it is to build durable growth, kind of that withstands the test of time, right? That as you layer more understanding, intelligence on it, it continues to grow. Is with identification, and it's dependent on improving how customers are identified, improving your personalization and how you're activating on that data you have. And then your attribution will have its best shot in trying to quantify what's driving the business, what worked from your marketing campaigns, and then you can use that and restart the cycle and invest that back into the marketing channels that work. But identification is not just, I knew it was Denik that came to the website. It's obviously it includes that, but it's also what is Denik buying? Where did he come from? What are his interests? And what's his value? Rolls up under identification. A clear understanding of that will help you reduce wasted ad expense. So you can focus on kind of the 20% that drives the 80% of your business, kind of the 80-20. You can then invest in the channels that are most responsive to that customer segment that you care about the most. And this still depends on knowing that it was not ID 123 ABC, and that it was Denik O'Reilly that visited your site or purchased in your store. So the three areas are connected, but in my mind, all roads lead back to knowing who your customers are. And if we date back, thousands of millennia ago, or thousands of years ago, when people walked into the business or the store or the shop or the market, they knew who their customer was at that point.
Yes.
and it helped them cater the offering or the offer to that person. So
Yeah.
it's peeling back the layers and going back to the basics.
Yes.
But it's more difficult, as we discussed, with the complexity with touch points, devices, and anonymity.
Yeah. So assuming we've identified who are our customers, or even who are our most lucrative customers, right? The highest profitable customers. What's next in the process?
Let's say you have that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You build out the right journeys that delight that person at each step in the journey. To put it simply, you break it down across the journey map, and then you're going to want to build a campaign for, let's say, that drives awareness for that user. And this is where attribution is key too, because then you want to look back and say, how did I get these folks? How did they hear about us? How were they made aware of us? So you kind of almost have to look backwards before you can plan forwards. And once you map out the journey, build personalized campaigns, and then obviously you're managing, then that's where AI comes in with the right content, the right time, and then you're managing frequency and building trust with that person through the journey. And then you're moving into the stage of attribution.
Yeah.
But you have the ability at every click and every visit, there's a chance you lose the connection of who actually was it the person I emailed that actually came in and bought. So
Yes.
building that structure behind the scenes is going to be important, and that's required. Tracking, using different techniques, whether it's
Yes.
UTMs and coupons and whatever your makeup is, but you want to develop strong trackability along the way.
Yes, and on the online side of things, I think it's clear with UTMs and coupons that you mentioned, maybe just, with choppable video, you can attribute. So, that's fine. What are some of the techniques that you use, let's say, in an online to offline experience? Someone just discovered a product online, but made a purchase, at the end of the day, right? He made a purchase, let's say, in an offline store, like a brick and mortar store. What are some of the techniques that you can follow that unique user?
There are a few. Maybe the simplest one to explain is, how good are you at capturing that user's information at the point of sale? That's key.
Yeah.
And there are techniques to optimize that or amplify that, but you want to know who's converting at the point of sale, especially if not via beacons or along the way, or apps and things like that also help. But the key is, how are you asking and how are you capturing it?
Yeah.
Are you offering something at point of sale? And I don't mean, and the rate at which you do that is what's important. Are you capturing 10%? That's not going to be good enough. Is it?
Yes.
30%? It's not going to be good enough, because you have 30%. And then if your identification online is less than 20%, then you're going to be down to a percentage of a percent.
Yes.
And that's the optimization path you're going to be on. But it requires breaking it down into each journey, each step, and plugging in the holes, filling the gaps. And obviously, taking care of the customer is a given.
Yeah. Obviously, just probably exposing a coupon code online that you can take and buy, offline with that coupon code, and you can close the loop, right? Obviously, for that transaction, and then you understand this is the segment, so let's create some journeys to support that. So you mentioned a journey of existing customers. Let's say we've identified our top, segment, top customers in terms of profitability or sales, and create variety of journeys to support them. What happens for prospects or leads before they purchase? It's all about trying to capture some information as we possibly can around them and develop follow-up journeys, right? That serves, a variety of use cases to them.
Yeah, and there are many paths here. You can go down the path of choosing to do only acquisition campaigns where you capture that person's information. So let's say lead forms. and you limit if the marketing vehicle or activity does not allow you to understand who's signing up, let's say it's just a banner click, then you avoid it. Or you put something along the path to help capture, they call it progressive profiling, or some data capture along the journey to help you with the attribution.
Yeah.
But it requires a certain amount of discipline to make sure that is set up. You have to have the measurement understood and locked in before you launch and before it's agreed to.
Yes. Yes, interesting. So, Denik, in Relic, you also implement those type of processes and workflows, or you just consult? What's the business model for you guys?
We do both, depending on the scope and the needs for that retailer. We have a team and we have partners that we've worked with over the years, or I've worked with personally, that understand the challenges deeply because they've lived it or I've lived it with them. As I said, I started out with just targeted emails, but I ended up at VP of Marketing Operations and managing very large customer databases from first party, second party, third party sources with partners and routine updates. So I've been in the trenches, so I'll be in the trenches with the partner in building the solution and helping with manage the implementation. So we do both.
Yeah, and it's always the best position, right? You bring your 2 decades of experience in that specific niche, and you just serve it, and provide value to customers. That's a great next step. So, what drove you to? Let's talk about your entrepreneurial, side for a few minutes. I mean, what drove you to launch Relic? I mean, what excites you about it? What are some of the challenges that you're facing?
I felt the time was right in my career. And I started to, I see the same challenge over and over. And I've personally worked on increasing identification rates, that specific problem, for a very long time. And, I achieved success in that area. And I felt other businesses have that challenge. Yeah. And if they're not investing the time and energy in that space, growth is going to be more challenging, and they're going to ride with the seasonality wave and trends and political changes and things like that versus having a solid foundation they can bank on. Personally, I've always been entrepreneurial. I like to try and do different things. And this is the first endeavor into leveraging something, what I've been doing for the longest time, my strongest skill set. And I hope to help retailers, even smaller retailers, apply some of this methodology to their business. At the end of the day, we're trying to help them succeed and help their customers be promoters. And maybe it's the working in email for so long and writing so many subject lines.
Really?
I feel like I have a pulse on a customer. I still feel I have the edge on AI on subject lines. I need to do a nice little test here, but you have a quick knack, when you build something, you feel like, oh, I can quickly tell which test is going to win, and or which subject line is going to win. So maybe it's that background of writing subject lines, seeing results thousands of times.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite unique. So I think the pain is clear, right? We talked a lot about that from your customer's perspective, and obviously you answer that pain and probably presenting some kind of a transformation or a process for improvement. What are how do you define success, right? What are some of the KPIs that are relevant to measure here?
The big one is potentially a higher revenue per send or revenue per person reached, transaction or conversion rate from your campaigns, reduction in duplication, but the driving revenue, incremental revenue per per person in the audience, if it's email per email sent, for example.
Yeah. Well, this is always like very easy to measure, right? But very hard, I guess, to achieve, right? But sometimes the gaps are quite visible that it's very fast, to create some meaningful improvements, right? When you work with customers, and obviously, these are the things that you identify quite, in your process and try to figure out, to provide some recommendation how to improve things, and the results are sometimes visible in the short term and the midterm. What is usually the time it takes, right, to see some transformation here?
Yeah. So let's say we have the system implemented and we're monitoring identification rates, duplication rates. You'll start to see in 1 to 3 months, you should start seeing a change in engagement across your campaigns, whether it's a reduction in opt-outs or an increase in revenue per individual. And if it amplifies, if you create more journeys or more touches or integrate different channels. So it's a email, SMS, and if they don't respond there, you send a targeted direct mail piece later on. And after the attribution, you use that to reinvest in that channels. And you're trying to make this as automated as possible along the way, obviously. So what you built before is generally hands-off outside of maintenance or improvements, and they're already prioritized, but you're reinvesting into this engine over and over as you gather more data. And the data you gather, the attribution to the sources that are working will continue to improve as you can identify more along the way.
Yes.
So lists should grow, engagement should increase, disengagement should decrease, and then revenue should follow.
Yeah, and all of these are really like clear parameters, easy to measure, right? It's not something vague, or it's going back to the data. So the Nick,
less theoretical. Yeah,
exactly, less theoretical. And you mentioned a lot of like the way you work and the process, and it's data driven, trying to find segments of customer types, both on the retention side or the acquisition side. Try to implement variety of workflows and journeys. But there is also like the content piece, which is very, very important, right? I mean, what do you write on those email scripts? I mean, the SMSs, how do you craft those messages in a very intelligent way? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So the content should be based on what you know about the individual, which comes back to obviously identification and how well you're capturing data. Is it real-time data? Is it accurate? And does it actually belong to that person? So let's assume that's resolved. Then the content you're choosing, I like to base it on, growing the business, thinking from a growth perspective. You can come up with a list of automations or triggers, let's say. You prioritize then based on the impact, which is typically a combination of, how strong the offer would be for that campaign and the scale of that campaign. Let's say you start there. And depending on that campaign type, whether it's as simple as an abandoned cart or a back in stock campaign, you build the content to, of course, basics at this point. You want to have a strong hook, strong offer. Up to you don't always need an offer. If you're really relevant, and just relevancy has been the name of the game for, maybe 50 years. Personalization is another form of relevancy. You're just trying to increase the percentage of relevance or increase the relevance across your campaign as much as possible without being obtrusive or creepy, let's say.
Yeah.
But you're trying to solve that person's problem through relevance by showing them, by wowing them or solving a problem for them in every campaign. So content is easier than it used to be, but you always want to monitor that AI and make sure it's still driving the relevance understands the context, which is obviously key in any um, generative LLM.
Sure.
Make sure the context is key. It helps you write it. And then you still need the human involved. I still think we have a good edge on AI in terms of understanding what the person really wants to solve.
Yeah, there is the strategic and the thinking stage, right, or layer, and then there's the execution layer. I think we need to, train ourselves to be there on the strategic layer and making hard decisions, and let AI do the grind, like the repetitive task and the execution.
And more on the execution side, your data catalog, your product catalogs, all need to be well structured and available and real time. So for example, if a price changes on the website at 1 p.m., but you're only, or price changes 2 times throughout the day on a product, but you're only updating the product data catalog once a day, you're going to miss a price change. Mm-hmm. And then that impacts when you can send the campaign. If you send it before the price change or after the price change, you can very easily scale a problem and create customer complaints and customer service issues. So you want to stay connected to the customer in terms of opt-outs and what customer service is telling you, but it's not only what the customer sees, it's also what's built behind the scenes and setting up from the titles, descriptions, colors, prices. Do you want to show prices in the campaign? Requires strong discipline, but it's riskier. Or do you want to say something, click for best price or click to see today's price? You make those decisions along the way for every element in the campaign.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Great, Nick. Anything else? First, tell us how people, companies can reach out to you and to Reliq.
Sure. Appreciate that. Go to Reliq, RELIQ, strategy.com, and you can schedule time with me there or send me a message. No, I think I've said maybe too much. I talked a lot here, but I appreciate the time and the opportunity to kind of share my story and what I'm working on.
No, I mean, it's a very, very important topic. It's one of the most important topic for any, marketeer out there or anyone who's just running this type of businesses. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're all set here. The 3 things I leave you with is identification, activation, and attribution.
100%. Yeah, I will never forget that for sure.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Nick. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure hosting you here.
All right. It's been a pleasure. Take care.